So, Eric, your course of study, was it what you wanted or
Yes.
what your parents wanted?
Yes, and I had my parents' blessing. They
Oof.
always allow you to do what you want to do as long as you're going to put in the work, as long as you're passionate about it, go for it. And what about you?
Well, for me, it was a bit of a struggle. My dad wanted me to study law. I wanted theater arts, and then we finally decided to do mass communication. So,
Which brings you here. You're doing what you love to do.
oh yeah.
And every parent wants the best for their kids, from courses they study to lucrative careers that they are proud of. But then sometimes they go as far as dictating the course or the career that their kids go on to become or study. These and other more we're going to talk about today on the show, where we talk about the role of parents in career selection. My name is Eric Wanso, and with me always is the beautiful, the delectable
Rachel Isaac is my name. Yes, you can call me Ray Ray. And you guys know how we do it on the show. Go on a quick break. When we come back, it'll be time for you to meet the guest for today. Stay with us.
Don't touch your dial.
Welcome back to the show where we bring you nothing but good vibes. This is a Vibe Cafe show. Now it is time for you to meet the guest for today. He is someone who is making a sophomore appearance on the show. He is Kingsley Obom-EGBULEM. He is a social entrepreneur. He is also a media specialist and the author of When Fishes Climb Trees, which is a complete guide to helping children discover purpose. You're welcome on the show again.
Thank you so much.
So when I saw you the first time, I was like, why is he twinning with Eric? Like, what is it? You guys plan to twin on the show today?
Black is one of my favorite color.
Yeah, apparently.
Like it.
Okay, so it's so good to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
So I am looking at your book right now, and I want to read it. So I have a thing or two to help my children with, and a thing or two to help, myself with, So was this book inspired by a personal experience, or it was just born out of the idea to help people?
It's a combination of all of that. It's also inspired by my work with teenagers. I do a lot of work with teenagers.
Okay.
And for close to 15 years now. And I figured out that one of the things that we do in our part of the country, or rather in our part of the world, is we go to school, we graduate, and we start looking for jobs. And any jobs that comes our way becomes our career. There is no deliberate plan. There is no purpose-driven approach to deciding what you want to do with your life. And so a lot of people are unengaged or unemployed, not because they're not brilliant, but because they're just waiting for what is available. And so we need to be deliberate, we need to be proactive. And so if you went to school to get an education and you come out without a skill, it means that the first job you're going to get arms you with a skill, and if you like it, that becomes your part. So you find people who, they got a job in the bank. That is their first job. And today they are bankers. Not because they deliberately went to school to study banking and finance.
Okay.
So, but I felt that is like a fish climbing a tree. Fishes are not designed to climb trees, you know that. They're designed to swim.
Okay.
And so if you figure out this is what I like, this is where I think I can flourish, then you go to school, you arm yourself with an education, then you come out and you hit the ground running.
Okay, so there are some people who venture into some businesses or industries by accident, and then they grow in those industries, but it is not exactly what they wanted to do. But they are making money. They are not fulfilling purpose. Are you now saying that the fact that they are making money and it's not their purpose, that they should now leave the money they're making to now fulfill purpose?
I think the answer to that question is anybody's guess.
Okay.
And that's because success actually shouldn't come before happiness. Happiness comes before success. You get the point?
Okay, so what if you find happiness and success in one place?
It is possible.
Okay.
They exist in one place. But you need to decide to make that happen by doing what you love, what you enjoy, and what you're talented and skilled for. That will make you happy, isn't it? And
Absolutely.
the next thing, what happens next is success.
But people always say things like, man must chop. In the
But,
sense
but
that...
that's why we are in this tragic situation that we have, where you have a guy who shouldn't be studying law or practicing as a lawyer,
Okay.
losing cases, but he feels he's good. But he's not good.
Because he's making money.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Now, you talked about your love for mass communication. You have the gift for it. You have the talent for it. And you went ahead to study it. And here you are. So, the sky will only be your limit because you are like a fish in the river.
So where does family come in, and even counselors? We don't have counselors anymore in schools, which is sad. And where do family come in? Sometimes you see kids who maybe they like to sing or they like to drum, and like their parents are like, I beg, go and look for something else to do. Where do family, which is the first place where kids grow up, and then even schools where, you know, have counselors or even teachers, guide this child to that purpose
Path
and
and
that
passion.
path?
Obviously, that has been the pathetic story of our country. And that was why I had to write this book, so that we can connect the dots and help both families, schools, and anybody who has a role to play in the human resource value chain. So if you have anything to do with anybody, a young person, the first thing you need to do is to identify their strengths, identify their passion, and be able to channel that passion aright. You get the point? So we have counselors who have been converted to teachers because they really don't have the skill. And if you don't have that skill, children won't come to you for counsel. You know what I mean? Then you have parents who also lack the knowledge to manage their children's talent and channel it properly. But they can't even spot this talent. So that's also the essence of those books. So you know, you have a child who is athletically built. You shouldn't force that child to do something outside that environment. You know, I have a daughter who, she can run for Africa. And the first day I took her to the stadium, she won a prize that day. Coincidentally, there was a competition going on that day. And they said, okay, come. And they all thought I was kidding. And they put her on this track, 75-meter junior girls.
So how old is your daughter now?
She's 9.
She's 9. Okay, so what happens when your daughter turns 15 and she decides to do something totally different from what you want her to do, from something that you know she would succeed in or succeed at?
I am not the one that pushed her to the stadium. Before we went there, she's been telling me, Daddy, I want to go and run. You get the point? She's the MVP in her school. She's won 8 gold medals.
Nice.
So the day we got to Agege Stadium, boy, you needed to see the smile on her face. It was like, finally, I am home. She's always told me, Daddy, I want to dance, I want to run, I want to do gymnastics. Those are what she says, you know. And my job is easy in that case. She has identified. And she's, if you see her, she's got bow legs. She's, you know, she has this
athletic build.
You know. So my job is easy. Now I will start to call for frustration if I said, Akachi, that's her name. I think you should be a doctor. That is when trouble. That's when we're calling for trouble.
But do you think that is also a result of parents projecting their own dreams onto their kids? Like wanting, oh, I want to be in a place and say, my son is a doctor or my daughter is a lawyer. Like, how do you think we can...
That's it. I call it insecurity on the part of parents. You see, one of the tragedies we must avoid is having parents who have a low self-esteem. When you are an insecure parent, when you are a parent that has a poor sense of self, you are going to raise dysfunctional children, because society will keep dictating what you want to do. I have parents who have children in schools they really can't afford. You know they can't afford it, but because you are insecure, you want to be affirmed by people. You now take your child to somewhere. It is the same mentality that makes parents want their children to study law or medicine, when you know that this child is not cut out for this discipline.
Okay.
and then you ignore the strength of the child
Okay.
in pursuit of the child's weakness.
Okay.
And
So
make
now,
them do it.
seeing that a child might want something now and want something else later in life, what point do you think, or at what age is it appropriate for a child to really pick their career and say, this is what I want to do? Yes, because I knew as a child I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Okay.
At some point I used to sketch. At another time I wanted to be an actress. Other times, so it was. If you ask me how many professions I've had in my head, I'm sure I've done like 20. So at what point do you truly say, okay, this is
That is why,
this is the right age
you know,
to
in
choose
this
your
book,
career?
I recommended that parents need to understand what talent spotting is all about. Now, you've got what it takes to do all of those things. That's the truth. So when you find a child who has a cocktail of talents that are geared towards a particular direction, you now find out what is the dominant talent. So you rest everything on that. It's okay, sweetheart, why don't you do this first? Why don't you start with this? Others will come on later. Find the dominant talent. You get a point now?
Yes, I do.
You also need to understand that there's what we call side hustles. When you turn your side hustle into the full hustle, there's a problem. When you turn your what should be your full hustle into your side hustle, there's also a problem. So you need to identify which should be the side hustle and which should be the main hustle. So that also speaks to the dominance of the talent. You get the point? So I am an actor, for instance. If I am an actor, acting should not be my side hustle.
It should be your main.
It should be my main work. Now,
Okay.
if I am an actor who is good at voiceover, who is good at modeling, I can do modeling when there are no scripts, when I'm not on location, when I'm free. Maybe I'm on vacation, but when I come back, acting is the main job.
Passion, peer pressure. You sometimes, if you pick a particular course or a particular line of work, and then you see your other friends, they are doing well, and your family and member like, this thing what you do, you're not going to live out, you're not still there, but you know that this is what gives you passion, this is what gives you happiness. How do you stay motivated, and how do you not stay depressed and this thing in terms of what society wants?
It's a tough one, but I'll give you an instance. Simi studied mass communication in Covenant University.
Yes.
But even while in Covenant, she knew she won't be a broadcaster.
Okay.
But she couldn't reconcile what life would be as a singer. So when she graduated, the reality was get a job, earn money, and when you finish broadcasting, go and be singing. But she told herself, no, I want a job where you don't have to force me to work. I can wake up early in the morning and go to bed late in the night doing. And that for her was singing, not even music. And so she ignored everybody and followed her heart. And today we know, I mean, she wrote it in the foreword. She wrote the foreword to this book.
Oh, nice.
So that is her passion. Music gives her essence and meaning. She got the talent for it. You don't have to push her to sing. She sings naturally. She can sing to save her life, like we always say.
Oh, yes, she
so
can.
that's one example. You have another example where you have a boy who he designs clothes. By the time he was in SS2, going to SS3, he was not buying clothes from the market. All he was buying were fabrics. He makes them, and he wears them. He went on to start selling those designs to friends while he was in SS3. But this guy was a straight A student. He was in science class. And the father told him, you are going to study medicine. And the boy told his dad, I'm sorry. This is what I want to do. This is what I think I want to do. And this is what I love. He even made a suit for the father on the father's birthday.
Oh.
The father said, thanks, but no thanks. If you think you want to buy me,
African parents.
I'm sorry. You study medicine. The guy had to leave home. Until date, he's not back to pursue his dream for
fashion.
Yes.
Fashion.
You know. So we need to change the parameters, the yardstick for measuring happiness. One of them must be the fact that, look, do I love it? Am I talented in this area? Does it make me happy? Then money will just be an incentive.
So your book, which I find intriguing, I like the title, When Fishes Climb Trees. I find a particular chapter very interesting. We don't need any more Dr. Album or Dr. Seed. What does that really what do you mean by that?
What I was trying to say is that we don't need situation where our children show signs and talent in a particular area, but we'll allow them go elsewhere to study something else, only for them to come back to do that thing they actually have the talent and passion for. Dr. Seed and Dr. Alban, ironically, or should I say coincidentally, are dentists by training. They read dentistry, but while they were studying, or before they even went to the medical school, they were entertainers. Dr. Seed was already performing in secondary school, even while he was in university, yet still doing medicine. But after a while, he graduated, practiced for a little while, and left dentistry and went into music. Now, by the time he released his first album, he was almost 32. And you ask yourself, at that age, you're not starting on a level where you can experiment and take all the risk, compared with the likes of Wizkid, the likes of Justin Bieber, who were teenagers when they took off. At that age, they can experiment, they can be creative, they can take any risk. But the older you get, sometimes, the more dicey it is to launch certain careers that you've never launched before.
True, very true.
So my point I was making there is, if you identify what your child is good at, let them take off early and let them arrive early.
Very well said. It's been very, very insightful on this sit down. And before we come to the end of this segment, I'll just read out something that I found interesting for the parents watching right now. The 21st century parents must understand that when it is time to make the transition from being a babysitter to being a coach and mentor, somehow there is a connection between your child's purpose and yours. Once you've spotted your child's talent and gifts, do all you can to invest everything into it, and you'll be glad you did later. On that note, this is the much we can take on this segment. Do not go anywhere, do not touch that dial, because when we come back, it will be time for lifestyle. Stay with us.
Sorry. I'm
What
sorry
happened?
for keeping you waiting. I mean, I had a little bit of a hold up somewhere,
You know you want to keep a lady waiting, right?
And I am sorry. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's okay, so you also kept us waiting. Guys, we're on to the lifestyle segment of the show where we're bringing nothing but good vibes. And today on this segment, we've decided to take you to our classroom to teach you budgeting 101. Okay, so we're going to help you budget, help you save, but then we'll run you through all the things that we have put down for you today. Okay, so first, let's start with what is budgeting, really?
That's, when you have a particular amount of money set aside for different purposes. You say, okay, I want to do this and this and this. I'm like, oh, this is how much it will cost. This is how much this will cost. You plan the finances you have to what you actually want to use the money for.
Okay. All right. So budgeting is basically one of the biggest ways to help save, to help spend, to help plan and manage your finances. It is as easy as it sounds, that easy. But then a lot of people don't know that for you to have a financial plan, it doesn't just end at having a plan. There's also something called how to execute that plan. You have to work towards it. It's not something that, it might be difficult at first because a lot of people, as the money comes in, they just want to spend, after all, like work for it. But then another thing that would ensure that the money doesn't go so easily is how well you budget. So this is what we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about the advantages of budgeting. The first on my list is that it helps you to stop overspending. Trust me, when you have a budget, when you have a plan that, okay, for this month, this is how much I'm going to spend, this is what I'm going to do. What it now does is, if you have a certain amount, you already know for sure that this is what I am going to spend. That way you don't overspend because you already have it at the back of your mind that amount so is what I'm spending, so it stops, and in fact, it ends overspending, so you don't overspend at the end of the day.
I also feel like it's important to, make sure that you have a saving culture. It's important that
Yes,
sometimes
very
you get
important.
money and you're like, oh, I want to do this, but how much have you set aside for saving? Because saving is very important for the rainy day. Anything can happen, something can happen and you need money. If you save, when you have this amount of money coming this month, this is for saving, this is for expenses, then there are other ones you can use it for other things. But it's also important that people learn how to save, especially young people should learn how to save.
Yes, I know that a lot of people will have this question, money, I hear a lot of people, young people say this all the time, money will never enter, we say I don't pay bills,
I don't spend that.
What that thing would help you do is, you already know how much bills not to even acquire, you already know that, I'm not going to spend too much, I'm not going to, if you borrow money, I'm not going to borrow past a certain amount. If you're going to buy on credit, I'm not going to buy past a certain amount. So you know that as the money is coming in, I already know that so amount is going out for all the bills and all the debts that I've incurred, and so amount is going into my account for my savings. Okay, so another thing that it does, it helps you reach your goals. You get to know what's priority, you get to know, it's scale of preference, like economics, back then. You get to know, that, this is important, let me buy this now, or this is not important, let me leave this until the next month when I have enough money, let me save now. Because if you make it a culture, as you mentioned earlier, you know that whether or not there is enough to go around, I have to save this certain amount of money. So I'm not left with a certain amount that I must manage. So that way you now know that, I would rather save. My scale of preference is showing me now that, this is top on the list, savings on the list, and then every other thing follows. So if you cannot do this for this month, push it to the next month. And you keep pushing it before you know.
But
you're
also
saving and doing yourself a lot
another
good.
thing that I think is important, some people might say is old-fashioned or old school. Have a list, even before the money comes up, that, okay, this is a list of this month, what do I need? I need this, I need that. Because when you go through that list, you now start to evaluate, do I really need this? Do I really need that? And then after you've gone through that list and you pick the ones that are most important, depending on your finances, then you buy that. Make sure it's always important that people save, no matter how little, even if it is 10% of your earnings. Save every month. It helps. If you start a saving culture now, especially as a young person, it will be something that will be a part of you, part of your lifestyle, and it's also very important. It saves you so much financially and otherwise.
Okay, and then another thing with savings here that I'd like to tell people, because it helps a lot. A lot of people say, I'm the one to save it. I have an ATM card. I'll go to withdraw it. I do this. So what you now do is there are lots of apps online these days that would help with saving. There are piggy bank apps where when you save it and you lock it, you can't break it. But if I know a particular savings app that you cannot break it until like maybe 6 months after you save. So that way, even if the thing is hooking you here, you would definitely not even have access to the money. So you save it and it's right there, and then you it's also discipline, because some people will not say, okay, so I have 50,000 naira that I've saved that I cannot break. Okay, let me borrow 50,000 naira so that when it's time to collect, and now you discipline your mind and you tell your mind that I really need to make this a habit, that's saving, and then it would work.
I also think before the advent of banks and everything, I think growing up we used to have piggy banks, like what people call polo. Kids would.
But you can break your colo, so
yes, but there's the way you put it in your colo and your parents keep it somewhere that you cannot reach to when it's time. I feel like all of those things encourage a saving culture, and kids should start, and parents should also teach their kids how to do that from a young age, so that it doesn't become difficult. Because if you don't start saving when you have a little, when you have so much, you'll be like, there's no need, Jerry.
So another thing on my list here is it helps you stop borrowing. So most people do not know the restriction that comes with a budget, really. Because when you have a budget, when you're saving, you're not worried about, what will I do with it? The money is safe somewhere. You're saving. The truth about it is we do not know that when we're saving, whether it's fixed deposit or it's something that we'll go back to get immediately, you're saving for your future. It's going to be
useful at some point.
So you don't get to think about anything. You just know that the money is there waiting for you. You're waiting for opportunities. And there's even some apps, where you save and then you get like interest
on it.
Yeah, you get interest on it. So you're saving, and at the end of the day, you're depriving yourself of some things to get more money. So at the end of the day, it's all good. It's all a win-win for you at the end of the day. And then another thing that budgeting does is it puts you in control. you know that this amount now my own, but I'm not touching it.
True.
And then that way you have self-control over other areas of your life. Yes, because if you can control something as serious as money, it's not little.
It's serious. I agree.
Money is not little.
Yeah, as serious as money.
If you can control money and then you control
habits,
your mind,
yes.
you control your spending habits, you control your mind to not go to break that piggy bank of yours. You can control anything.
Yeah, true,
you know
true.
that things are happening that you need money for, but because you know it is not that important, you stay put, you stay calm.
Yeah.
It will reflect in every other part of your life.
I agree.
Yeah, so budgeting goes a long way in helping us live the life of our dreams.
And
at
then
the end of the
start
day.
them young when it comes to budgeting, because when it becomes a part of you, when it becomes a lifestyle, a habit, it will be difficult for you to break. I know a friend who always, no matter if you give him 50k or 20k, he will find a way to save even if it is 5k, and it's helped him so far.
So what I now do is any job that I do, anything that I do, I first do that 50% goes to a certain place. Whether I need more than that 50% is not my business. I just make sure that it goes to a certain place. Okay, this is the much we can take on this segment. Coming up next is the vibe segment. So we keep vibing. We will be right back. Okay, so now it is time for the Vibe segment. And today on Vibe, because of what we talked about on the sit-down, we are encouraging you to find your passion and fulfill your purpose.
And stick with your passion. It might take time, but I mean, it's what gives you fulfillment, it's what gives you happiness. Just stay true to your passion.
Okay, don't be a fish that climbs trees. Basically.
That's a good day.
Okay, so this is the much we can take on the show today. It's been an amazing, interesting, and insightful episode. My name is Rachel Isaac.
And I am Eric Mwanto. And you know that you can follow us on all our social media platforms at Vibe Cafe Show. And that's all we can take for today's episode. And with that,
Say bye-bye. You go be.
Day your day.